Hey everybody, this is our presentation on MLA citation, and bear with me because there's quite a lot that I want to get to here, and I have to poke around the website and things like that as we're going. But one reason that I'm really excited to make this video is, now I'm not teaching it directly in front of class, and you can keep coming back to this video again and again. So I might over talk some of the points, but I think all of them are really important. So let's get a few things out of the way before we even touch citation. And the first thing to really know is, plagiarism. So I'm sure you're all very aware of the most blatant kind of plagiarism, which is copying somebody else's information and posting it as if you came up with the idea. One of the reasons that I think citation in general is so difficult for your generation is because you guys do this all the time, right? Like, nobody knows who created the first meme of the guy looking at one girl instead of the other. Nobody knows who made that because nobody gave that person credit for that very clever thing. And certainly nobody knows who made a picture out of it, right? And so what do? We just copy that. We go to, you don't even have to go to Photoshop to change the names, right? And then you kind of make it your own joke. And then somebody takes that joke from you. We don't have a good sense of giving ownership to people who have good ideas or bad ideas for that matter. And it's so infectious that like now advertising companies use that, right? They steal because it's not copyrighted. They could just steal that direct idea and use it in an ad, which is now really gross. So plagiarism is much more than that, though. There's all types of levels of plagiarism, going all the way down to just not citing something properly, like having your period in the wrong place in a citation is technically a form of plagiarism. And depending on the level of education, the school that you're going to, the degree that you're getting, some of these things become pretty harsh pretty quickly, to the extent that some universities now are so tired of dealing with plagiarism that they will literally kick you out of the school, and over the front of your transcript they will watermark plagiarism. And so you can try to get into another school with those same transcripts, but what are the chances that somebody else is going to let you in? Or you can just pretend that you never went to school at all and suck up all that money that you spent. So that's pretty severe. I don't want to, make you think that that's something that I would do. I am going to be correcting a lot of citation errors, and sometimes they get to be severe enough where I just say, you have a 0 on this assignment until you do the citation properly. That's about as severe as I get in our class. But I'm not going to do that right away, right? I'm really kind of based in the instruction. And as you know, I'm based in the instruction of, I assume that you're not going to do well on something the first time I give it to you, and I'm going to try to help you correct it. But it will get to a point where citation just becomes super, super, super important, including on our most important assignment of the year, our biggest and most important assignment of the year. So why do I go to Purdue Owl? Well, just a brief history lesson. Like back in the day, when I was in high school, I had to buy a book. That book was published by MLA. Now it had some good stuff in it. It had how to write an essay. Granted, it told you how to write a 5-paragraph essay. It had how to do research. Granted, at that time, they kind of ignored that the internet existed because I'm that old. And basically anything that you found on the internet, your teacher was going to tell you wasn't a good source. And so it was all about how to go to the library and how to find things in a library, or how to read a book and how to take notes out of a book. And then on top of that, they would give you all of the rules for all of citation. So the problem with that is they could make up a new rule, and then your book would be out of date, right? So they actually did that my senior year of high school. It was standard to put 2 spaces after a period. So if some of your parents are like, why don't they put 2 spaces after a period? Just tell them, yeah, they changed that in the year 2000. which was the year that I graduated in 2001. So that's when they changed it. And then when I went to college, I had a professor who was on top of that one rule, and she took off a point every time that I put two spaces after a period, and I got a bad grade on my first paper. Luckily, she allowed me to rewrite it. But that was a pretty severe consequence for a pretty minor error, right? So I learned I am never going to put two spaces after a period ever again after that first paper. Um, so the University of Purdue decided, hey, why do all of our students have to buy this book every single year when they just make small changes? That seems like a racket, and we don't want our students to have to pay for that. And so they created this place called the Owl, their writing lab, and they started publishing all the new rules there every single year. And they're very, very good at it. They keep on top of it like nobody else has to. In fact, I don't even know of another university who even attempts to go through this process because Purdue just has it cornered. And they make it free for everybody in the world, which is quite amazing, that they do all this work every single year and it's free for everybody. So what we want to do is go to the Owl itself. That's their writing lab where all of this information is going to be. I can always just type in owlpurdue.edu and get there, or you just go to Canvas or Google and you type in Owl, and then you're going to be ready to go. So I am going to go ahead and click on Owl Purdue. And this is such a wonderful site because not only do they do general citation, general writing, they have all the stuff that I talked about that's in that book, including grammar. So all of you who are taking this class for grammar and notice that I don't do a lot of grammar instruction, look at all this grammar instruction right here, all for you. Look at the ones that we really have a big problem with. Let's see. Positives, some of you have problems with that. Prepositions, some of you have problems with that. Pronouns, some of you have problems with that. Punctuation and commas. Look at that. We have comma rules for you. So this is a great resource for you for so many different reasons. And if you didn't know about it, then I'm just not going to mention that to any of your English teachers because we've been harping on it for years. So I'm going to go to research and citation. And you'll notice there they have pretty much every single citation style on it. I know I am currently having to learn APA citation because that is what's expected of me for my doctoral program. You guys need to know the difference between APA and MLA, I'm sure, because I believe most of your science classes and maybe AP statistics, not AP statistics, AP research and AP seminar, I think, are AP. APA, but for us it's MLA. So we can do the style introduction and it's going to give you like, here are the basics of the style, right? But what we really want to get to is the formatting and style guide. This is where all of our rules are. And so I like a couple really strong things on this page. One is just talking about the general format of the paper. And I actually really like their sample paper where they give you, this is what a paper should look like. And I follow all of these rules, by the way. And so it tells you like, here's how your heading should be. Here's what your header should look like. Notice that there aren't any spaces between paragraphs. And it tells you all of the instructions for how all of the formatting should work for every single paper you ever write, which is really fantastic. This is a wonderful just sheet of paper to go to or PDF to go to if you are looking just for good standard formatting rules. For us, like I said, we're really looking at the basics. So what I want to look at is in-text citation basics. They do have their own citation engine, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, but they're going to just go over the basics of citation. And I noticed like some of you who attempted to use citation either in your summer essay or in your open essay are still having some struggles with this. So the idea behind citation is that you've got to give credit by the end of the line for the person and the page number. That's the kind of typical process that you have if you're citing, let's say, from a book. And so remember, this information we are going to put in footnotes, but that's only for this class. Usually you're going to put it at the end of the line. So where does this information come from? So this is one thing that I see a lot of students do. They say like Wordsworth and they just kind of think that they're done, or they pop in a quote and they don't put any of this information, right? These are the kind of typical problems that I see in my day-to-day when I'm looking at papers. And so where does this information come from? Well, it comes from your works cited page, right? So if I create my works cited page and I'm using all of the proper tools, then this is what the citation looks like in the works cited page. And I, as your teacher, anybody who comes along will go, okay, Wordsworth, where do I find Wordsworth? What's this mean? They're going to look down to your works cited page. They're going to see Wordsworth, William, lyrical ballads, and then I'm going to know this is where that information came from, right? That's the whole purpose of citation, is for it to be clear in your writing where information comes from. So let's see, do they have a works cited page? There we go, works cited page basic format. So this is going to be very useful as you're putting together your citations from your poetry conversation. It's going to give you kind of all the things you need to know. Here's what to do if there's one author. Here's what to do if there's no authors. Or, actually there is something to do if there's no authors. And how do I kind of build a citation? So yes, there are rules for how to build a citation. If we go to other common sources. Oh, sorry. Like an interview, we actually should go to electronic sources. So since most of your stuff is going to come from an electronic source, like a database, right? Here are all the things that you need to put in to have a proper format. And if you do it right, then it's going to look like this. Or if you do a website, you're going to put in all this information and it's going to look like this. So this is what I had to do back in the day. It would just give me this, and I had to make this out of it. You guys don't have to do that. You get to go to a citation machine. And it's probably not going to work as well as you want it to. Let's just go ahead. I'm going to be lazy and use Wikipedia, which you shouldn't use. So I'm just going to go to Wikipedia. What should I look up on Wikipedia? I am going to look up Mark Twain after my dear puppy, Mark Twain. Okay, so let's say I'm using this as my information. Again, shouldn't really be using this. In fact, let me show you what you should do. I'm getting this information from Mark Twain. I want to see where this information came from. I'm going to go ahead and follow the link. Oh my God, this is so much better than just getting this random information. Ooh, I love that this link is dead. This shows how terrible Wikipedia is. I could edit all of this out, but I'm choosing not to. I think I saw something from JSTOR. There we go. Here's something from JSTOR. Nope. They just wrote the word JSTOR in there? That's terrible too. Okay, here we go. So this is from a website, marktwainquotes.com. Again, I'm sure a wonderful site that's triple accurate. So I could copy this and go to my citation engine and paste it. Okay. Now, in a perfect world, it would do all the work for me. It would be so perfect. It would find all the right information. And it's not going to do that. it's going to give me the link. So I am going to be smarter than that. I'm going to go to create manual citation. And I'll show you what this does, why it's so much better than just that link. It's going to ask me questions. And so if you notice, the questions that it's asking here are actually these same questions. It's this same information here is on the manual entry here. And that's really important. So what it's doing is it's kind of helping you compile it all correctly. And so what am I going to do? Well, what's the title? The title is New York Times. It's a weird title. So I guess it's New York Times, Mark Twain. Maybe if I go home. There we go. It's Twain quotes. I'm going to say this is the title of the website. That's okay. I'll just copy and paste. No big deal. Who's the author contributor? I'm going to tell you, usually with a website, you're not going to get this information. It seemed like this one had one. So Barbara Schmidt, come on down. The price is right. She's at least got the copyright on the page, so I don't mind giving her some credit. One T or two? One T. Nope. Oh, that didn't work. That did work. Okay. Website title. So I think the website title is just twainquotes.com, right? So, I mean, this is not a precise art. You know, you're kind of negotiating it a little bit. Is there a publisher or a sponsor? That's usually going to be at the bottom of the page. Yeah, so it's Amazon.com is actually the sponsor, the associate. That's always useful, like, you know, do I trust the sponsor? If the sponsor was InfoWars, I'm probably not going to trust it, right? I think I would trust Amazon with Mark Twain quotes. I think I'm okay trusting that. I think we did have a date on here. It was 1997. So that was a pretty old website. I don't have the date or the month, but I have the year. And you really should be able to find some kind of information on like how long is this. Now I'm going to go ahead and complete the citation. And don't get me wrong, like I understand this is a little bit of time. It's way more time than if I, you know, had just copied the stupid link. But this is looking like a correct citation to me. And again, if I go, sorry, we'll get rid of this because it's a distraction. If I go to this right here, if this is how it should look, this is looking pretty good to me. So yeah, it's got some missing info. You might have some missing info. Like I said, like usually with a website, you don't get the name of the publisher or the editor. So I would be fine if it just, I would have to skip that information. It would just be Mark Twain quotations, newspaper collections, and related resources would be the title. Of course, I can copy it and kind of put it in my Word document and everything else. Another
the Hyundai
thing,
Tucson from the brand.
That's weird. Another thing that students really struggle with is just this indentation, which is the opposite of the indentation that you're used to. You're used to indenting the first line and not the other lines. This is called a hanging indent because the indentation is hanging off. You know, he's about to fall. Oh no. This cliff here, right? So this is how your your one citation should look. And then again, if you're quoting this piece inside of your paper, then you're putting Schmidt um, at the end. We talked about page numbers. Well, if it's an electronic source, there are no page numbers, right? So we would just put Schmidt, and then that would be the end. I guess I would have wanted to go to the actual page where the quote came from, but you could see how I assembled all of that information, which is really important. Again, if I go to my sample paper, I love this sample paper. I'm telling you, it's like one of the best things ever. Um, Here's my works cited page. So you can see the hanging indent. You can see why the hanging indent is so important, because it's very clear where citation 1 ends and citation 2 begins. So it's just nice and clean. I personally like to put a space between these because it looks even nicer. That's a very personal thing, and I've asked professors before, do you have a lot of preferences on how works cited page is conducted? And they will tell you. I've had some tell me, like, if there's one period off anywhere in here, I'll take off points, and they do. I'm like, why do you have that much time on your hands? But you never know. You'll also have professors who are like, who cares? But this is a really important stage to kind of understand. Um, yeah. We'll talk about annotated bibliographies when we get to annotated bibliographies. There is a difference between an annotated bib and a works cited. And essentially, I'll say it right here just so you can use this video again. An annotated bibliography is this citation, and then underneath it is a summary of what this citation is, and then our next source and the next summary. So it's a very long document. The other big difference is an annotated bibliography is done during your research process, not at the end of your paper writing. So your annotated bibliography is all of your stuff. Your works cited is only the works that you have cited in the paper, or in the case of our poetry discussion, the works that you cited during our poetry discussion. I think I'm running a little long, but I do hope that you understand how important all of this information is. And again, just to kind of give you a nice little reminder of how much information is on here, like literally anything that you want to find is on here. So I'll do one more thing while we're here. I'm just going to search the Owl, and I'm going to search YouTube. And so what I want you to get out of this is MLA electronic sources. It even tells you how to cite a YouTube page. You have to dig a little bit, right? So I'm in electronic sources, and I'm going to go like all the way down. So here's an entire website, right? Here's a web page. Here's an ebook, which is different than a book, right? Because you don't have the page numbers. There's an article from a web magazine. So like if you're getting something from the New York Times, for example, here's where you're going for it. Article from a scholarly online journal. This is a lot of stuff that's going to come from databases. Here's how to do an email if you do an interview. So like literally there are rules for everything. They go out of their way to make rules. So like if you did an interview for one of our subjects with Dr. Myers, like you would still cite that interview. And here's how to do it. Blog posts, even a tweet. Man, we're about to write the American definition essay. You might want to pull a tweet from somebody who tweets a lot. And here we go. Here's how to actually pull a tweet. And then, like I said, here's our YouTube video. Here's how to actually cite a YouTube video. So that search function up here is very useful for those like things that you're not going to find explicitly laid out like a book or a periodical. Again, all this types of information are here. So much information on this page that helps you with citation. And this is why this is the only place you ever really need to go to get the information that you want. And that should help you in literally every every class where you actually have to write and cite, this is a useful resource. And then again, the grammar is up here too. So I know I do give you guys general information about grammar, and my big grammar rule is like, if you're in an AP junior class in an English class in high school, then you've already been taught everything we can teach you about grammar. And if you don't know it, you've got to kind of teach it to yourself. And so here's all the good stuff you ever need to know about grammar is right here. In fact, I'm going to pull a grammar lesson from here right now. So I hope that's very useful to you all. And again, I'll kind of save this video and some basic resources so that we can see it again and again. If you still have questions on how to do citation, don't concern yourself with having to email me. Feel free. But do know, like, I don't walk around with all the citation information in my head. I usually go to the Owl if I have some questions. So, consult here before you consult me. And then if you need my help finding something, I'm more than willing to help you find something for citation.